As above, so below.
Welcome to Connecting with Coincidence. I am your host, Bernard Beitman, MD, otherwise known as Dr. Coincidence. Please subscribe to our channel here. It's a way to increase our reach, and I hope you'll be able to do that with us. And come to the cafe, the Coincidence Cafe, which meets every third Saturday of the month at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And the link is also below. You scroll down to get to it. And please consider buying my book, Meaningful Coincidences, so you get a background for what I'm talking about. And this story is a brief one. It's called Bali, Bali, Bali. Bali, Bali, Bali. We're talking to Bali right now, a man in Bali right now. And he and I have been on, yeah, he and I have, I was on his podcast last week, and now we're returning the favor. But this Bali, Bali, Bali story involves Jordan because it starts with a dance partner of mine with whom I'm doing a presentation next month on synchronicity. And then she disappeared from dance, and I didn't know where she went. And then found out she was in Bali. And she'd sent Facebook things from Bali, so I got a sense for what it was like there. Then I interviewed a woman on my podcast who had visited some of the same places that Leslie had visited, my dance partner, and was planning to return to Bali. So that was Bali number 2, surprise. Then after my dance partner, Leslie, returned to Charlottesville, I was invited to be on a podcast originating from Bali with this guy here, whom you're seeing and whom you will hear from. And yes, I mentioned I was on his podcast. So Jordan Oakley now joins us from Bali. Hey, Jordan, once again. And here we go. And here we go. I'm going to introduce him, and we'll go to this rock and roll thing that will be an interview with Jordan. He's an entrepreneur, a traveler, and a surfer, the founder of Nebula Coworking Space in Bali. It's a beautiful space. You can get on Instagram and take a look at it. It's a space-themed co-working space nestled in Canggu, Canggu in Bali. Their motto is "Create space to play," and the learning entertainment interface is my favorite place, and that's what they've got there, where we help entrepreneurs achieve the 5 freedoms, says Jordan: freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom of location, freedom of relationships, and freedom of purpose. The purpose one I'm very interested in finding how people find their purpose and what they do with that. It's a very important part of synchronicity studying. Jordan has followed the thread of coincidences throughout his life, which has led him to a dynamic array of experiences and adventures, some of which we are going to hear about today. So Jordan, good to see you again. Welcome to my show after having been on yours. So maybe you could start off telling us one of your many coincidence stories.
Okay, sure. So it's great to be here, Bernie, and yeah, I love your book. So that's what connected us. Yeah, I found it really, it was some really nice stories and threads throughout there. So one of my coincidences stories, I feel like, being in Bali, they're littered throughout living here. So there's quite a few. I would say that a memorable one was that I had just left. Some friends were visiting here in Bali. So Bali is like a very transient place. Some people sometimes come for a week. Some people come for a few months. Some end up getting stuck here for a few years, like myself. and I had a few friends visiting, and they left, and so it was great to like just switch off and just surf and enjoy spending time with them, and traveling a little bit. And then I was thinking to myself in the morning, what am I going to do next? Like, what's another project? And I was thinking in the morning, I was like, so it would be great to do it another. I have a little boutique hotel in the southern tip of Bali called Uluwatu, and I was thinking it would be great to have another another place up there in front of my favorite wave, one of my favorite waves up there. And then that same day, whether or not it was the algorithm, or I thought it into existence, we don't know, or do we? Maybe you might be able to shed some light on that one, Bernie. But I was in the sauna. So sauna, ice bath places here, they're amazing place to hang out and meet people and connect. Surround yourself with more coincidences if you hang out at these kinds of places, if you like saunas and ice baths. And I was just checking my phone, and I saw that there was a place for rent, basically, right where I was wanting to do a project, where I thought about doing that earlier the day. And basically just jumped on my scooter, put a bit of cash in my bag, and drove down there and shook hands with the guy selling or renting the house. So that was one that happened probably 8 months ago. It was an interesting one.
When you say it was an interesting one, it became a project of yours, right? It became something that you owned the house, or you fixed it up.
Yes. So the way that the property market here works is you typically rent them for like more than a year, like 25 years, 20 years, 10 years. So we ended up renovating it and basically moving into it. The reason it was so great for me, or meaningful for me, is because it was right where I had thought about, I want a project here. And it was one of those moments where it was like, I just thought about that. So I must take action on that, because it was literally in the space of, the morning to the middle of the day where I thought about that. So that's just invited me to, just jump on the scooter and bring some cash, go there, shake some hands. And a few weeks later, we were in the notary's office making an agreement. And it's a beautiful spot. It's a really peaceful location.
Well, the important thing for coincidence talking about this is that you were looking for something to do. You were open, and then a thought came into your mind to do something in that part of Bali that was also one of your favorite wave surfing places. And that was in the morning, and then you got the notice, and it fit right with what you were wanting. Do something in that area, business-wise. And it's almost as if it was a precognitive thing as well, that you imagined that it could happen and that you wanted it to happen. And the difference between imagining something happening and then having it happen, that's both you wanted to have it happen, but it's also a prediction that it can happen, is part of the fun of all this. But when we don't know where the differences are, you want it, but it's going to happen, and you can tell it's going to happen. So it's your mind wanting it to happen, but it's also something that you can maybe see is going to happen. And it happened, and you went for it, and there it was. And that seems to have characterized your life. I call it surfing, a form of surfing the coincidences, and it seems like that metaphor will apply very directly to you. And I wonder if you can talk about surfing and following coincidences.
Yes. So I think that you can create coincidences, and you can so I'll give another example. Yesterday, I don't know if you have heard of the god or the deity Ganesha.
Sure,
So
sure.
sure, yeah.
But
I imagine.
you might explain it. Go ahead.
So from my understanding, well, the Balinese here, they have these Ganesha statues around. Not every Balinese have it, but you know, the ones that enjoy the company of that god, I guess. So from my understanding, it's a god that removes blockages, and is good for like prosperity and abundance. And he likes sweets. So he likes sweets, incense, some fruit, and I don't know the history of him, but all I know is I'm a scientist at heart, so I like experimenting. And so basically at our co-working space, we installed a Ganesha, and we did it with the purposeful intent of sort of boosting our sales. So and also paying respects to the Ganesha, but we also want to like yeah, see if we get some sales from it. So yesterday was the first time that I like gave an offering to the statue. So I put some money there, and I gave some fruit there. And you know, my phone was in my office. And then I came back to my phone, and you know, I was made the intention with the at the time I made an offering with a thought of, you know, it'd be great to get some sales at the co-working space. And so then I check my phone, and a friend that I haven't heard from for a while, he sends me this message. He sent me a message, and he said, "Hey, I want to start doing your social media stuff at the co-working space," and we'd never spoken about it before. So that's kind of one thing that I noticed recently, like yesterday. But yeah, I like following the thread. It's not always doesn't always work out, but maybe you'll learn something.
Yeah. When you say following the threads, could you describe that a little bit more? Because I think there's something about surfing that's similar to following the threads, but that's my kind of view of it.
Hmm. Something with surfing. Well, you kind of go where the waves are, right?
Yeah, yeah,
If
yeah.
there's no waves, so surfing has been sort of a driving force for me for adventure and travel. Usually, if I like in my 20s, if I wanted to travel, I would usually have to have a surf spot there if I want to spend a bit more time there. So yeah, go where the waves are and stay longer if there is some swell. So yeah, if you're trying not to sound too much like a surfer, but if the waves are good, then stay. And if the vibes are good, then enjoy the vibes. So yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, if you got some good vibes there and you're having a good time, then stay there, spend some more time there.
Well, once you're in a good place, and we can call that being in the flow, perhaps, um, where the waves are going well, um, then you've got to go onto the waves, and the experience of being on the waves, riding the crest, going underneath the tunnel, are part of the fun of doing it. And that's where you get into a good position, and you help position yourself with Ganesh, the donation to Ganesh, the money and the fruit, and you got something you were looking for, not exactly um, business money coming in, but help for that out of no place, something that you could really use to help promote your place. So there's being in the right place, which you help create with Ganesh, and thinking about it and wanting it, needing it, because those things all help it happen. But then there's going to look at your phone and making it happen, so that you begin to get onto the wave. You see there's a wave coming and you get on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, that's interesting parallels. Yeah, there's no better feeling like than being in the center, like, pulling down the bottom of the wave, doing a hard turn up and just watching the lip like fold over. Time slows down. You're in the pit, and you don't know if you're gonna make it. You might come out, you might not. But that's where your practice and your training comes in, of like staying present, keeping your legs strong, and just like pushing through, or just like yeah, just leaning forward and shooting for the exit. And then yeah, if you make it out, it's, yeah, some of my best memories were surfing just with some friends, and just catching amazing waves.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I I can I may be stretching the metaphor, and I agree with you indirectly, but I think there's something to what you just said, that when you are in a good space with your friend, with good friends, and things seem to be going all right with you, you find something um, that you're looking for, uh, a
The
wave.
barrel. The barrel, yeah.
The what?
The barrel, or what did
The,
you call it? The tube, or the tunnel,
the
yeah.
bow. Yeah,
The
the
tunnel.
bow. The
The
bow. I mean,
barrel. Barrel.
the barrel, the barrel, the
That is,
barrel, the barrel. Yes, the barrel.
yeah.
Yeah, the barrel. Yeah, same idea. I like to think it's a tunnel because you go into it on one end and come out on the other. That seems to be a good idea. A a, a barrel is you're going to be stuck in it, um, and there's no other end to it. You just get in it. But anyway, that's it's the barrel, and you get into that space, and that's where the beauty is, and the excitement, and when you're being in the present right then. And it's not as dramatic in walking around on land, but there's still something to me about being in that flow, looking for the barrel, getting into it, that seems to, if you pay attention to it much more subtly, a place where coincidences are more likely to happen.
Mm. Yes. Well, if you get one barrel in a session, you're much more likely to get another barrel or another tunnel, right? So if the conditions are right, if you have a nice offshore wind, if you have a bit of groundswell with the right direction, and it's coming in at the reef or the beach in a certain way, you're more than likely to get more you're not you might surf sometimes where you get 0 barrels, and it's like dog's breakfast, windy onshore slop. And then you might have another session where you have pristine conditions, like I said, with an offshore wind, and yeah, you're much more likely to have more than one barrel in that session.
Oh, well, that's definitely true of synchronicities. If you start having them, you start having more of them quite often. I mean, when that's being partly in the flow of them. But there's something there that is more subtle in walking around on land, where the conditions are right. Now, what are the what from your experience of following the threads of coincidence, what are the conditions that may have made it right for you to have a lot of meaningful coincidences?
That's a great question. I think the being in a state of sort of giving and receiving. Yeah, for me, giving and receiving, and thankfulness. Yeah, thankfulness, gratitude, appreciation. Coincidences. Probably, I feel like they're usually a high, like a meaningful coincidence will probably be heightened emotional state. Yeah.
Yeah, those are all things that that you're saying tend to increase them, and they're a little bit like the wind conditions and the weather that are more obvious, but
Mhm.
they're part of being able to create or participate in create. You don't make the waves. You
Right.
find the times when they're happening, and sometimes you're just lucky because you walk into a place and it's happening. Sometimes you know it's more likely to happen, the waves in certain places, like where the house you got just rebuilt, it takes is is there are places that are more likely, and there are conditions that are more likely to increase meaningful coincidences, and you've had lots of them in your life. When you say following the threads, could you tell us some of the threads that you have followed to be involved with meaningful coincidences?
Hmm. Um, yeah, so I'm a quick starter by nature. So if I see an opportunity, I will generally jump on it. And it's if it's aligned with my personal interests or and desires. I remember my high school deputy principal, she called me an opportunist. And it was in a negative way, because we used to have this we used to have this break in at school where they basically didn't check the roll for an hour in the mornings. So I would come in a little bit later because they didn't check it like once a week. And then I could sleep in. So yeah, I remember she called me an opportunist for that. And it wasn't a good thing, but I was like, I don't know if it's a good thing. I think it sounded bad the way she said it, but it was good for me because I enjoyed sleeping. But following the thread, um,
Well, let's let's
I think,
let's let, let's stay with
yeah.
that for a minute. We'll get to the thread, but one of the things that is clear about you is you're an opportunist in a positive way, that you are willing, able, and like to seize the opportunity when it presents itself to you. You do that, and
Yes.
it's not everybody does that. Um, I know one guy who would criticize people for not taking the opportunity, because so many times they're presented to each of us, but we get cautious and don't go for it. And one of the principles that drives Jordan Oakley is, if you see it, grab it. And if there's anything that's surfer like, it's there. You see the way, you go for it, and you have to see it and then you go for it. And that seems to be an operating principle of yours.
Well, if you're out in the ocean, Bernard, and there's 20 surfers sitting out there, all waiting for a wave, if you're not going to paddle for it, you're not going to catch it. So yeah, that's probably some surfer mentality, that you do have to, if the wave is there, then paddle and do your best to get on it. You might not always get it, but don't want to let it get unridden. But someone else might enjoy it as well. Um Yeah. So following
You-
the thread.
Well, you do that. You do that in real life too, is what I'm saying, is that you see the wave coming and you go for it. You've implied that to me several times now,
Yes.
and that's what I'm wondering about with following the threads.
Mm, yeah. Following the threads. I think like looking at yourself is in a way that you like how do you want to develop yourself, or like what is interesting for you? That's basically it. Following your curiosity. For me, that's what following the thread is. What are you curious about? And just following it. What does it mean for you when you say following the thread?
This is it's a phrase that you have introduced to me following the thread. So that's what I was trying to see what you mean. But I think I think you say it in what you've written to me is how do you best cultivate more coincidences? And you answered that with see the potential and stretch your capacities, go outside and speak to people. You are
Mm.
active. You are active. The thread that you seem to follow, Jordan, is your own inner promptings. You have a sense for what might be a good thing to do, and you follow your intuition to go do it. You're very action oriented in creating coincidences, from what I can tell.
Yes. Yeah, I think that you will receive coincidences. Um, and yeah, when I said that, like expanding your capacities, so I'll tell you a story. So I was in Dubai. I was visiting it for the first time last year, and I ended up going there. You know, you said Bali, Bali, Bali. I ended up going there because I had 3 prompts as well. So there was an event on there, and someone came into this co-working space, and she was going, and she said, "Hey, you should come." And then I had uh one other person who said, "Oh, there's this event on in Dubai. Um, are you gonna go?" And then there was a third person, another friend, who said, "Yo, there's this event." And I'd never been to Dubai. It was a good excuse. So three things. Jumped on a plane over there. Anyway, went to the event. And at the end of it, I was pretty tired. And my capacity was like pretty empty, but I had, yeah, kind of little bit engineered myself into a situation where I could go to dinner with some very wealthy Dubai people. And I didn't feel like it. I didn't feel like going, but because I had stretched my capacity in this event and gone and done these steps of going and networking and meeting people and putting myself in a situation where I could have an opportunity for these invitations, I felt like I should do it. And yeah, I made a really nice connection at that dinner, and it was worth it. Yeah, just like stretching that little bit more so that you can have these opportunities sort of present themselves to you. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense, Jordan. And there's especially something about a principle that comes from what you just described, that you don't feel like going, but you know you need to go. That sometimes, and not always, is an indicator that there's going to be something there. So some people, not just me, feel like they don't want to go someplace that they kind of are going to go anyway, or should go, or are there to go, or something like that. But I don't feel like it. It's the opposite of the intuition. I got to go. It's like I don't want to go. But there's something about that I don't want to go that you need to go. That somehow is an indicator that there might be something there. Not always, but something there. It's just, what do you think of that?
Yeah, 100%. I think that yeah, what is it that wants you to go? For me, I think that the number one secret to high performance is stretching your capacities. So that's kind of one of the principles that I've adopted, to from a pretty shy kid to just exploring the world in a way that's meaningful for me. Yeah, so yeah, sort of stretching your capacities, I think is useful. Doesn't always work out, of course. What do you think about it?
Well, it doesn't always work out, and that's the way it goes. In what sphere of human experience does it always work out when you take a shot? I played sports. Didn't always work out. I mean, in baseball, it was good if you batted 300. That means 3 out of 10 hits you get. You don't, but you got to try. You're not going to get any hits if you don't try. And one of the ways you are talking about trying is doing something that might be a good idea, but you kind of don't want to, but it's scary, but because you might fail, and that's part of the trouble. You might get something bad might happen. You might lose or something. But if you don't try, and this is a basic principle, if you don't try, it's not going to happen. And so many people get scared that it's not going to happen with relationships, with jobs, with opportunities. If you don't try, if you don't put yourself there, it's not going to happen. Well, that's the positive thing about you, and that's different from some of the people that I've interviewed, like many people, is that you're an action-oriented person. You like to move. You like to grab opportunities. And I think that teacher telling you you're an opportunist was in a way, a good thing, because it told you how you operate and that you can see opportunities that you can then go for, which is what you have to do surfing. You got to get to the place and then see the opportunity and go paddle for it. And then that's what you do in regular life, it seems to me.
Yeah, well, I think there's phases, right? It's not always going to go get it. I think you really got to enjoy your massages and enjoy the life as well. Relax, unwind. Not always go, but yeah, if you feel like that there's something there, then follow it.
The idea of being able to relax and is so important. It's being able to go for it and then not go for it. And that's a very good
Yeah.
principle also. Well, why don't
I
we
would
talk?
love to I
Go
would love
ahead.
to explore that principle, of going for it and then sort of not going for it.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because you live it. You live it. I mean, you ended up in Bali. Just, hey, I got some good waves there. I think I'll be there. Now you got a nice business, and you keep looking for more stuff to happen. But then you do the massages, and Bali is such a great place to hang around, especially some of the islands around Bali, and just kind of be. You can be a human being in Bali, and you do a contradiction there, because you go for it and then you don't go for it, and it's a great place not to go for it. So that's what you do in Bali, and it just hyper clarifies what people can do in their lives wherever they are. So But what do you think of that?
Yes, I think that I mean success with balance in a way. So yes, I agree. Just you can really do nothing here and have an amazing life, and live pretty cheaply and still have a great time. So I
So
think that
what
I think
makes you?
that the
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that maybe what if, because I work with entrepreneurs here, so this is a space for entrepreneurs, and like I said, like you mentioned at the start, it's create space to play. So I think realizing, like, for the entrepreneurs is like, why do you want to have a business? Is it do you why do you want that? Is a lot of the time it's because they want to have more freedom. They want to have freedom to do what, though? Like, enjoy the life, right? So I think that if you are aligning your intentions with what's true to you, not just building a bank account, like what do you actually want to spend your time doing, then you're going to be more aligned with that, and you're going to have you're going to take time out to do what you want to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you're providing a space to do that. And there must be a lot of synchronicities happening uh, in your workspace. I mean, with all those people interacting with each other, all with similar intentions, there must be. Is that true?
Yes, there's, I mean, you can, you kind of, you can just make it as well. So we have a group chat. So today I posted in there and says, hey, who knows how to make funnels? And two people hit me up. So I don't know. Is that a coincidence?
The group chat provided the opportunity for those two needs to be met. And we don't call it a coincidence because we can explain it by having the group, but still that's not enough. So that's a small but very meaningful coincidence, the way I think about it. They have the need, you have the ability to supply it, and you create the space in which that can happen. And it's magical, really, to be able to do that. I need this and I have that.
Yeah, but because we can logically explain it, then it's not such a meaningful thing, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's definitely meaningful, but it's not so mysterious. But isn't it
Right.
kind of mysterious too? Kind of like they had a need and then you could fill it. And we can talk about how it happens, but one of the values of your having those group chats is you create opportunities for coincidences like that to happen. A need, and the coincidences, the dramatic ones are like that guy calling you up and saying, I want to help you with your software or with marketing, I think. And you had the need. It's the same idea. It comes more as a surprise, but you can create opportunities. And that's what I do with the Coincidence Cafe is put people together in small groups, and they find that they have connections that they never thought would happen. So they become something that you can help create, which you're doing by
Mm.
having a group chat. It wouldn't happen if Jordan Oakley hadn't had a group chat for these people.
Mm. Yeah. Um, yeah, it reminds me, we have like a similar thing with with your coincidence cafes. So we do a weekly mastermind where there's no set agenda. It's just random people can come, and also members can come. So yeah, so whoever arrives, similar to the cafe, I'm sure, they probably don't know who's going to be there, and then they might, so the format of it is that they throw out a challenge that they're having, and then it starts with a meditation. So we go into a little meditation, and then we focus on what we're appreciating. So everyone shares something that they're grateful for before we start something, and so get them in that positive state. And then they throw down a challenge, and whoever is in the room, they will get different feedback or different ideas, because it's a different crowd every week. Yeah, that's, so I guess that's kind of coincidental.
Oh, it's really what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's who shows up. Sometimes somebody shows up who's just the right person for somebody else who just showed up who's the right person, or somebody else who's in that group. It hasn't that happened?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, people just yes, it has happened. It happens every week. So
Yeah, it happens every week, and you're
yeah,
just kind of used to it.
yeah.
Jordan, there's something there's something I want I want to be able to get clear to our listeners and our viewers. You live in a place that is much more likely to have synchronicities happen. It's just that's Bali. For various reasons, the veil is thin. There's much more interaction and group minds in Bali, and it's just the way you live. And there, it's going to happen more likely in in this place that you are living.
Is that because there would be maybe less structure, or yes?
Less
Okay.
structure, more ocean, and that helps, and much more openness to the environment, because it's so beautiful most of the time, not all the time, but it's just so beautiful and easy, and and so things move more fluidly because there's less structure, because it's beautiful. There's a religious element in Indonesia. It's mostly I thought Muslim or Hindu, um, and you are able to have a religious and a spiritual experience in Bali in which things move more fluidly, so people can be attracted to each other for ideas and help they might do for each other. Uh, it's what and you're creating a space for that, and you're not even particularly conscious of it. I am conscious of it as you describe it, that you are creating in your workspace the opportunities for people to interact in ways that help each other. And that's what you come to expect. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
That's what you do. It's a big deal outside of Bali, that more people need to do what you're doing with the ease and flow in which you're doing it.
Mm. Yeah, there's been yeah, I mean I love that, seeing people get connected in and unlocked in ways that they probably wouldn't have been able to do it by themselves. So yeah, one example is we had one girl, she has like massive TikTok following, and she's she's selling she's working with like women, empowering them financially. And she came to one of the masterminds, and then she sort of threw down her challenge, and that was to um convert those into a funnel, and then put it into a webinar. And so she came to one of the masterminds, and then she had like hundreds of people coming to her because we connected with her, someone that works at the space. And then she had hundreds of people coming to her webinar, and she was like freaking out about it. She wasn't used to so many people coming to her thing. So yeah, it's yeah, for me, that's, yeah, it's really special when you can um connect people and see people winning in ways that are good for them.
Yeah. What's a funnel?
So if you imagine a funnel like this, so and you catching leads basically. So you could have you know, a million people watch your videos, but unless you convert those into leads, grab their emails, and then, send them to a landing page or a webinar, you can't really do anything with it. So you can't monetize it, or you can't, I mean, you can still provide value to them in the video, but you can't, do anything more with like a transaction, basically. So a funnel is something that converts leads to customers.
That's a good definition. And in your description, it's capturing their emails is what does it.
Yeah, capturing their emails.
Is there any other way in which I'm asking for partly for my own use? Any other ways besides getting emails?
Um, you mean to capture attention? So
Yeah,
converting.
to convert from contact to monetizing.
Yeah, plenty. I mean, you could book a free call. It depends what kind of monetization you have after that. Like if you're selling courses or that kind of thing.
Let's say selling courses.
Yeah, so I mean, you need to have some sort of contact with them. So you could instantly put them onto like an evergreen webinar, which is like a recorded version of a sales webinar where you're telling them about the course, and then you can sell them at the end of the webinar to buy the next course. So there's plenty of strategies but you need to have their contact number or their email.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that's where it starts. And so, say I have 3,000 emails, and I want to like do something with them.
yeah.
And I've got some content at synchronicity, etc. Then what?
Then I will connect you with my guys here that specialize with that. Yeah, would be my pleasure. So send out email campaigns to them, and start spamming them, basically. Um, yeah, letting them becoming more synchronistic with their attention. I don't know however you want to frame it. Um,
Well, find people who would be interested, because it's all a form of synchronicity when you send them out and it hits a mind that is interested in it. That's what good marketing should be, where you provide something that a person really needs rather than trying to create a need that they don't really have. And that's the big difference. So here we're talking about being able to find people who already are interested in synchronicity. They're there. Do they want to go to a next step? And that next step could be a webinar or a series, a course in synchronicity. And that's where I'm headed, in that direction, to be able to try to do something like that. And I've got an email list, and and I'm sending them out to 3,000 people on a weekly basis. Just like our interview here will go out to 3,000 people, and with the click rate is, maybe 6%, maybe if we're lucky 12%, and then be
wow.
able to do something with that market that we already have something with, for people who are interested in trying to do what we're talking about doing. I live this synchronicity life, and you do too. You just it's fun talking with you because you're not aware of it pretty much, because it's kind of like part of your regular life. And the reason that's wonderful is because that's probably the way it was for people who weren't involved and still aren't in rational thinking of the Western mind, where we're just thinking all one step after the other, and we got to do this according to a plan. But you're living in a place where that's not in the environment so much. It's just kind of, you can move and do things, and things happen, and things are fine, and stuff happens. As one person I was talking with who was in Bali and wanted to be on a podcast. And some guy on a motor scooter, probably like unlike, and it's probably like yours, stops and talks with her, and she kind of knew him from a long time ago. And he said, "Well, you want to be on my podcast? I need somebody this week." And so she was on a podcast, much like you thought about what you wanted, and it happened. It's Bali is a place in which it's more likely because of the way it is with the spiritual background and the relative isolation, not so isolated anymore, where this stuff is more likely to happen.
Yes, you got to visit, Bernie. Check the flights. There's the first or second. I don't know how many times you've been invited, but you've got the first one at least.
Well, the
Yeah, you
person
need three, right?
the person I gotten three of them, you being the third, and the person that I work with in the Coincidence Project has just sent me a place to stay in Bali for the Coincidence Project board members. Of course, it's all reasonable fees for everybody, and the plane fare from Dulles, was where airport, Washington D.C., where I am, is 1,500, which isn't too bad. So she wants to have our board meeting in Bali because she's been wanting to go to Bali for a long time too. So it's the drumbeat is getting stronger. We'd spend there about a week there is what she had in mind. So that's it's there's something happening, and I mean I like being able to connect with you uh, because of the Bali things, but also because there's surfer and there's wind and there's ease and it's still being taken over too much by money in Bali that other people are getting in there. I know that's happening, but there's still a lot of what's old Bali is still there for at least for now. So I'm getting the vibe, and your vibe is you just don't know how much you're living a synchronicity life because you don't have to think about it because you just do it. That's what it looks like to me.
I've been here for a while. So I enjoy the life here, and yeah, I keep coming back. But we've got a beautiful boardroom upstairs. And yeah, we'd love to. I mean, yeah, if you guys decide to have in Bali, then yeah, we should definitely have a coconut or catch a wave.
Have a coconut or catch a wave. Well, we're catching a wave right now. Um, just riding around on it. Um, we have a little while left, not too much longer, but I never really I would like to be able to ask you how you got started with being aware of meaningful coincidences.
Hmm. Um, I never really used that term so much. It
Yeah.
was more like synchronicity.
Yeah, how you got started with synchronicities. That's the right way.
Um, I don't remember. It would probably be after school, I would imagine. How I got started with synchronicities. Um, I don't have a specific event
You don't
where
have to. Do you remember the first big one? There was one where you said, "Wow, that's really amazing."
um not really.
Not really, not really. I mean, you are so here and now oriented. It's amazing.
I think my memory's not that my memory is not. I think I probably need to I practice getting better at memory every day. I'm practicing better at memory. Yeah, just living in the now, brah.
Yeah, it's living in the now. That's what Bali is. So you don't step back and look because you don't have to because you just live with the flow of it. I mean, I can know that from just the videos and photographs this friend of mine had from Bali. It's just we are you and I are talking from different cultures right now. We're speaking English, but the flow that you are in is not unlike the flow I'm in. I'm in a flow here as well, but it's so much flowier where you are, and I can feel it, and you represent it. And what you're doing with your workspace is making a wave or making waves, creating waves where there may be still waters around where people are trying to think of them themselves, but then you bring them together, and some of them find a barrel that they can ride through and have a great excitement of discovery and new ideas and new opportunities for themselves.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a it's it's a very interesting and wonderful thing you're doing. Now, we're coming to the end. Is there anything you'd like our audience to know about you or about Bali or about anything that you think they might be interested in?
Not really. Yeah, I mean, if you're visiting Bali, and we'd love to have you check out our space. Come and meet the members. Come to the free the mastermind, which we do every week, and yeah, hopefully we might be able to connect you with some meaningful coincidences
In Bali.
in Bali. Yeah.
Could just describe a little bit more for us what that workspace, play space does?
Yeah, so Nebula is a space for entrepreneurs. So we are more interested in having like long-term members here. So we have monthly offices for rent, and designated desks. So we have ice bath, a sauna, we have this podcast room here in the back of which I'm sitting in right now, in the back of the co-working space. And yeah, so we are a space for entrepreneurs. So we have all different kinds of entrepreneurs here, from people who are just starting out to multi 7-figure entrepreneurs. And yeah, it's a community where people helping each other and supporting each other, and yeah, supporting each other basically.
And what are some of the things people are working on, the beginners and the ones who have been there for a while?
We have a few people with agencies, so marketing agencies. Someone joined like a week ago. She's just starting a social media agency. We have someone here working on AI, creating like frameworks to communicating with AI. We have some property investor people, and yeah, we have a few different fields: email marketing people, sales, lots of different industries.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get some idea about. And that's a great value to everybody there, to have people from different perspectives coming in and doing and talking with each other, because that's bringing people together, and in a way that's fruitful for each can be fruitful for each of the people involved, and that's a wonderful thing to be helping people do. And it's a beautiful space. Again, I emphasize that from just looking at it on your Instagram views of it. It's for a surfer guy who just showed up and likes some waves. It's you've created something quite beautiful and practical there in Bali. So I congratulate you on what you've done.
Yeah, thanks, Bernie. It was a team effort. We have got a great team that keeps the ship running. And yeah, as flowy as Bali might be, you really got to bring some practicality to it, and take some steps. Otherwise, the electricity and the you're not going to get free Wi-Fi, right? Free internet. So yeah, you got to take the steps, put the systems in place, and yeah, balance those two spheres.
And you've been able to do that, and you are able to do that, and you'll continue it. So I admire you're doing that. It's almost against the flow of Bali to do what you're doing, almost, because there are other entrepreneurs growing there. That's Bali is a place people are coming to do things in, not just hang around in, because it's so beautiful. And you're one of the people that started a little earlier there. How long have you been doing your place?
So we've been open. We had our first year anniversary like a few weeks ago, so 2 weeks ago. So we've only been open for about a year. But my first house that I built here was sort of based on similar principles. So it's five-bedroom place. I started building that 4 or 5 years ago, and yeah, I love the meaningful coincidences that come out of that place. It's not so much related to work a lot of the times or entrepreneurship, but yeah, if you have 5 interesting or celebrated people in one house, then you have a recipe for fun experiences, I hope. Most of the time.
And most of the time is the right answer, because sometimes you're going to get conflicts, and that's the way it works. But it's not none of this is 100%. But you seem to like to put people together and watch what happens.
I think you said before, like if you can see the need, and if you can feel the need, then you can help them, and you can also help yourself as well. Like this space started off being a crypto space because I had some money in crypto, but then I realized I don't want to spend all my time talking about crypto, so it transformed into a space for entrepreneurs. So yeah, you create your environment and it will create you. So that's the way I look at it.
Beautiful. You create your environment and it will create you. So thank you very much, Jordan Oakley from Bali, speaking to us from that beautiful spot that you are in. And it's been great talking with you this time, and great talking with you last week. So thank you for being with me today.
Thanks, Bernie. It was my pleasure. Love to keep in touch.
This psychosphere is our mental atmosphere, like a hologram of cosmic consciousness.